Yesterday I made some cherry and almond muffins. Impressed? I'm impressed. I made 24. 24. There are 3 left. I'm just going to do that, and then I'm going to do. There are now 2 left. Indeed, I'm tempted to go and make a cup of tea and have another one. Watch this. I'm back. I just had a cup of tea. I never had that second muffin. Although if you could actually smell the muffins, if I was able to somehow or other pass the scent of the muffin through the camera to your home, you would be at my door. You would ignore lockdown and social distances. You would be at my door demanding. It would be like looting. Not that that's to be encouraged. You would be after my muffins. There are 2 left. At this time I've decided not to hide them. They're out there in the open for anyone to take. Maybe I should. Hang on, I'll be back in a minute. Back again. Just needed to make sure about that, about the muffins. I'm still on the muffins. And that was my dog, Maisie, my Spaniel. And she always lies at my feet when I'm doing these recordings. And sometimes I forget that she's there. And so when I move my chair, I'm actually moving her as well, because she lies in the most unusual positions. So I've got a swivelly chair, and sometimes her head will rest on one of the legs of the chair. You know, the chairs that move because it's a swivelly chair and it's got rollers. So when I move the chair, kind of move her when I move the chair. That's what I meant to say. And I'm not being cruel to her. I just forget that she's there. So anyway, if you hear any snoring or heavy breathing, it's not me. It's the Spaniel. Before I go on and share some philosophical ponderings with you, we are now, are we now in week 4? I think we're in week 4 of lockdown, so this has been longer than I anticipated, but I'm still going strong. But I'm very aware that there are lots of you out there who are just working like Trojans, volunteering to help other people, delivering shopping, buying groceries, doing gardening work. Thank you to Alex and to Alison. So I saw them today, and so a huge big thank you. Really appreciated, beautiful job that they have done. Also a big shout out to Elaine, who passed her exams today, so well done to Elaine. I always knew you would pass, Elaine, always knew it. No fear there at all. To all my viewers from Australia and Tasmania and Canada and the States and where else? France and Germany. The rest of the countries I think I would be making up. But for all these people from all over the world who are giving me the thumbs up and sending me lots of positive vibes, I am sending you back. Look, positive vibes from Cullen. They're going out there. There you go. We're all in that kind of lovey-dovey kind of mood at the moment, aren't we? We're all kind of bonding together, regardless. I know they were falling off my face. Regardless where we are in the world, we're there to help one another and to support one another and just look out for one another. And if anything, this pandemic has shown us is that we are capable. We are capable of doing that, and I hope that continues. But I just want to say to all those people, wherever you are, it is noticed and it is appreciated. So thank you. Now I'm going to begin today by admitting, and I very rarely do this, admitting to a mistake. Yeah. I don't know if you know it. And indeed, I was expecting hundreds, thousands of you to be contacting me to say, I think you're wrong. I haven't had any yet. But yesterday I said 3 women went to visit the tomb. And I said, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of Jesus, and Salome. Well, it wasn't Mary the mother of Jesus. It was Mary the mother of James, who had gone to visit the tomb. Now, that was a deliberate mistake. I just wanted to see how many people I could catch out. Not many, it would seem. So today I want to, so I'm going to make a song about so, and I'm going to call it the So Song. So Song. There's the first lyric. So Song. Right, enough ramblings. I'm going to talk today about, I'm not really going to talk about any specific chapter in Mark, because I'm not very sure where I should go with it. I'm not very sure, because we had the resurrection, that's like the peak, you know, and then going back to the beginning seems a bit strange. So I'm not very sure where I'm going to go with Mark, but I'll go somewhere, I think, maybe, possibly. Or I could make muffins. That's a tough call. Talk about Mark or make muffins. I'm going to ponder that one. I gave you some homework yesterday, by the way. I hope you did it. If you send it in, I'll mark it. Today I'm going to talk about misunderstandings. And what I mean by that is that, well, I'm going to tell you a story. I'll tell you a story. And a lot of these stories seem to take place when I was a teenager, but this is a true story, but I've got stories in my 20s and 30s, even in my 40s. That's where I'm going to stop. But this was one when I was a teenager, and I was out with Davy Wilson. Big shout out to Davy in Australia. Hi Davy, miss you. George Wade, a really good buddy from Ayr. Hi George, still in Ayr. And I know that you're working from home, so these were my bestest friends. And Eric Borland, I don't think Eric will be watching me. Maybe he is. If you are, Eric, say hello. But it was, we used to go to the Caledonian disco, us guys, when we were younger, in our flares and stay press trousers and shirt collars that when I went, they were wider than your shoulders. And I remember a time, I think it was me and George and I, who were walking back from the Cali back to our homes. We didn't stay together, we stayed in separate homes, but we were walking back and we were stopped by the police. The police car came up. Now I think George was a bit older than me, just months older than me, so he would have been fine. I think I had just passed my 18th birthday, I think. And what was going through my mind was this I happened to be a policewoman who stopped and came out of the car. And I thought the first question she was going to ask me, have you got any identification? What age are you? Have you been drinking? And I wasn't drunk. I need to say that. But she didn't ask me. She asked us where we had been and who we had seen on our walk back from the Cali disco. Because seemingly there'd been a burglary somewhere, I think. It's a bit vague now. Lots of years have passed since that incident. So we were very keen to help this policewoman, and we proceeded to tell her separately, but we were listening to one another. We were standing on the pavement about 1 o'clock in the morning to tell her what we had seen. And I think George started to say, well, I saw this. And I'm thinking, I don't remember that. What I saw was... So the reason for the story was that both George and I were telling the policewoman a similar story, but from a different perspective, because we had seen different things from our journey back from the Caledonia disco. We weren't telling lies. It was just the way we had observed things. And that's interesting, because I think we all do that. We can look at anything, whether it's a film on the TV or an incident in the street, but we'll have a different take on it. You know, if you're with someone else, And we have a different way of describing things because we're different people. We are unique. So when you compare, this is what I wanted to talk about. When you compare all four resurrection stories from all four Gospels, they're all different. So if you take Matthew's Gospel, we'll just go through the Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. If you take Matthew's Gospel, there's Mary Magdalene, the other Mary, we don't know who, which other Mary, but all that Matthew says, the other Mary. Two women, two Marys, went to the tomb. The stone covering the entrance of the tomb is still in place. When an angel comes down from heaven and sits in the tomb, after rolling the stone away, and then he sits in the tomb, and then Jesus appears, and these two Marys take hold of his feet. And then they go back and tell the disciples. In Mark's version, we have two Marys and a third woman, Salome. And the stone, if you've been following this, the stone has been already been rolled away, and there's a young man in the tomb. That young man is probably Mark, the author of that book, who's writing himself into the story. That's probably Mark. That's his wee clue, the young man in the tomb. So that's different. In Luke's version, we have Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James, and Joanna. And two men suddenly appear in the tomb with them. And then John's version, you've just got Mary Magdalene, who actually goes into the tomb and is told by two angels, "Why are you looking here? Jesus is gone." And then Mary Magdalene sees Jesus and she thinks that Jesus is the gardener. So all four stories are slightly different with different witnesses. All interestingly, the things that they have in common: first witnesses were women, not men. Women. Now, I'm not being sexist here, but women in biblical times were non-entities. They were virtually men's property. So I think it's so lovely to hear that these non-entities were the first people who had the opportunity to witness the risen Jesus, the risen Christ. I think that's absolutely wonderful. The other things that they have in common is that they go to the tomb expecting to see something, a dead body. And in all four incidents, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, they don't see a dead body, they see an empty tomb, and in some cases, angels or young men who say, "Don't bother looking here. He's gone, he's gone." And then the third thing that they have in common is that all these four Gospels, they go back and they tell the men. It's as if they've said, "Look, we have witnessed this. It's over to you. You go and do something about it." And there is a bit of hesitancy and a bit of resistance there. But I think it's such a joy to know that it's the women who are the first witnesses to this wonderful event. The other thing I want to talk about is I had this wonderful... I'm just telling stories today. I sometimes have to go to conferences, which I don't jump up and down about. I'm not a conference kind of guy, but I'd go. I've been to conferences. But there was one I went to quite a few years ago, and maybe within the last 10 years. And it was a worship conference. And it was people from all over the country, all over the UK, who had gone there. So not just Church of Scotland ministers, but Episcopalians, Catholics, Methodists, Congregationalists, folks from the United Reformed Church, and I think it would have been about 40 people. I knew some, I knew a handful, but the majority I didn't know at all. So it was a worship conference down at Durham Cathedral. That was great. Absolutely wonderful. Two nights. 3 days, 2 nights it lasted for. Great. Absolutely. One of the highlights of my ministry was that conference. And one of the things I want to share with you was that we had to get comfortable. I need to watch the Spaniel. I can smell muffins. I can smell muffins. I might make some more. One of the things I was going to share with you was that in the evening, the group of us who attended this conference went to Evensong, which was about 6 p.m. in Durham Cathedral. So there was other members of the public there. That was lovely. That was really nice. I liked that. And then when the other members of the public left, those in the conference were given a tour of the cathedral at night. This would be about 7:30. And it's a beautiful cathedral. If you've never been, go. It's fantastic. Absolutely knockout. And there was a woman curate showing us around the place. And she took us to different bits. And she said, and I've never forgotten this. She said, and this ties in with the resurrection in case you think I'm havering. But she said, for the third time, she asked us, she never said, she asked us, she said, what do you think, in this beautiful cathedral, when you look round, what would you say is the most spiritual part of the cathedral? Now, I'm not the kind of guy that's always the first one to stick their hand up and say, excuse me. I don't know if I did provide an answer, I can't remember. But there were answers like, the communion table, or the stained glass window, or the pews, or the pulpit, and all these different things. And Durham Cathedral is full of so many sacred things. And she listened to all their answers, and there were quite a few. And she said, well, these are all good, relevant answers to my question. But I think, she said, the most important and maybe the holiest part of the church is the front door. Now, nobody guessed the door. But she went on to explain that the door is the place that's open to allow congregations, members of the public, even individuals to come in. But the door is the place that people then need to leave to go into the world. And one of the things that ties in all 4 resurrection stories is that virtually all 4 evangelists, Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, all say to the women, he's not here. Go back. Go into the world. Share the good news with others. It's no good keeping the good news to yourself. And it's no good keeping the good news when we gather together on a Sunday. That's pointless. That's absolutely pointless. That's so insular and so inward looking. And it provides no nourishment to anyone. The whole point of the resurrection is it's news that we come to hear going through a door, but it's news that we take back out the door into the community to be shared to others. I'm going to leave that with you. I'm going to make a muffin.